Hello everyone, my name is Erdem. I'm a jewelry producer and a 3D designer, and today I want to show you how you can use the history feature in Rhino to create a ring, which you can alter quickly to have different versions of it. So to start our project, let's first create our ring rail. The ring rail is the circle that touches the finger. It resembles the inside of our ring. So what I'm going to need is a circle, perfect circle. I'm coming here, I'm clicking the circle, and the center of the circle will be in the world center. So I just type 0 and hit enter. Now that's my center. And I'm doing this in the front viewport. I don't click anything just yet more, just coming up here and select the circumference option so that I can enter a circumference. Circumference is actually the length of the circle that I'm going to be drawing. I click circumference because circumference corresponds to the EU ring size, and I'm going to start with ring size 56. I just type 56 here and type enter. And now I have my ring rail curve. I want to double check the circumference, the length of this curve. For that, I'm going to use the dimension tool. In dimension, I'm going to use the curve length dimension. Select the curve. This is my curve, first curve point. I'm just going to select an edge here. To do that, I'm turning on my object snap menu. Switch on object snap on, and in here I make sure that the quadrant object snap is on, and then I just snap. It snaps automatically. I hold down shift key to make it straight line and right click, and you see here it states the length of the curve 56. Perfect. I've switched to the perspective viewport. Now let's check something together. This curve is 56 millimeters long. The beauty of the history feature is that when you make changes to an object, it updates the relevant objects. Let's make some changes to this record. For example, let's move it. Did you see just what happened? When I moved the curve, our dimension object has moved also. It take this back. Let's make a dimension change. Let's make an adjustment. For example, let me hold from this blue square here, dark blue square, and drag and hold until I get somewhat an oval shape. Hit release. Our dimension object has changed. Now it shows us the actual length of our new curve. Of course, we're not going to make a ring rail like this, so I'm taking it back. But this function is going to be useful when we're going to make an update. So it's time to import our diamonds. Actually, we're going to import just one diamond. I'll come over here. I'm going to put the link in the description so that you can also download this diamond object. And here is my diamond. Let's see how big is this diamond. I actually want to have a 2mm diamond. To learn this, I'm going to use another tool that's called box edit. It's a toolbox that you can find on the right side of the interface here. You see there's a settings icon, and here the box edit option. Just click this option and this menu comes up here. That's very practical when you want to deform an object or move it or rotate it. So how do we use it? We select our object. In this case, I select my stone, and I make sure that the program is using the world C-plane construction plane, and I click here all the center points, and here it shows me live how big is my stone. So in this case, it's 2mm in the X direction, 2mm in Y direction, and 1.2mm in Z direction, in this direction. So that's actually what I want, 2mm. That's great. So that's the stone that I want. So remember, our stone is 1.2mm high. So if I could have a material thickness of 2mm, that would be enough for the production. So I just need another curve offsetting this curve. So how do we do that? We use the offset command. It's in curve menu and offset curve. It's here. Side to offset and distance. I just click the distance and type 2 in. Click enter. Somewhere outside of my original curve, I click. Now I have my offset curve. And actually, we're going to need the length of this curve too. So let's create another dimension object, another curve length dimension. This is going to be my curve. And let's place our dimension object. So you see, my second curve is 68.57 millimeters long. So I'm going to draw a curve that is 68.57 millimeters long. And single line. I'm going to select. As the starting point, I'm going to select this point here. To do that, I'm just typing, this point is going to be at the 0, 10, 0 coordinates, x, y, z. So I'm just typing the coordinates in, typing 0, comma, 10, the point snapped here, and comma, and another 0. I hit enter, clicking on both sides, of 68.57 divided by 2. I'm just typing all that in, /. Division is /. I'm just typing everything here, as you can see. Here in the command line, the point on x-axis will be 2, comma 10, comma 0. That's going to be the coordinate. Yeah. So actually, this curve, this open curve and this closed curve should have the same amount of length. Let's check that out together. I'm getting actually another curve length dimension object, and that's gonna tell me the dimension of this curve. I'm gonna place this in the middle, so I make sure that midpoint object snap is on, and I come into the middle of the curve, and I place holding down shift, and I place. So you see these two curves are now at the same length, which is necessary for our project. Let's now create a copy from this diamond that we have. We actually want our diamonds to be here in the center. I'm going to do this using the box edit tool over here. To do this, I'm coming over to the section, position section in the box edit mode, and I move my diamond 10 times, and I make sure the copy object is selected, and then I hit apply. Perfect. I deselect my objects. So I just created a copy from this object. And since the record history, always record history and update children options are selected, whatever change I make to this original one, as you can see, will translate to the child objects. And you can make other child objects from this child object, which we're going to do in a second. But before I do it, first I want to create my prong. To do that, I'm just going to create a cylinder from solid cylinder here. And as the base of my cylinder, I'm selecting the world center, which is 0, as we did before. Hit enter. I specify a diameter 0.85 is okay for now, and an amount of height, which we can later change. So I'm just entering 1 millimeter here. Well, since both sides is on, it's gonna make 2 millimeters, but I'm just turning this off and hit 1 and enter. So that's gonna be my prong. Let's position the prong. Let's place it like this for a moment. Now I want to array stones. So like said before, I want to have 15 stones. So I need to place 14 more diamonds, right? To get 15, because I already have one here. I just want to make a copy. I click anywhere on the C-plane. I know that the diameter of my diamonds are 2 millimeters, and I just want to have 0.2 millimeters in between the diamonds. So I just type here 2 millimeters plus 0.2, which is going to be the distance between the stones. So I'm just typing 2.2, click enter. As you see now, my distance option is limited to 2.2. I'm holding down shift key to activate ortho, and then I click once. Perfect. Now I have 2 diamonds. I want to have more diamonds. Is the same way to do that. You see that there is a option here, command line option, that goes from last point, use last distance, use last direction. Let's say yes to all of them. And now as we click, it's going to place the other stones. So to have 15 stones, I need 7 stones on the right side of the middle stone and 7 stones on the left side of the middle stone. So I already placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I right click to end command. Now I have 7 stones here. Let's mirror these 7 stones on this axis. Zero, hit enter, hold down shift to activate ortho, and left click. So let's do the same thing with the prongs. Select the prong, come over here to mirror, start of the mirror plane, anywhere on this line, and again anywhere on this line. Make sure that the copy option is showing yes, otherwise you just delete the input, but we need to input also. Here, left click, and voila. Let's do the same copy process with the prongs. Select the point, 2.2, enter, hold down shift, click once, select all the options to yes, keep clicking, until we have enough prongs. Select the prongs and mirror the prongs to the other side. Perfect. Now we have 15 stones and prongs that hold them. Now you see our prongs are staying a little awkward, so we need to fix this. Since we used this prong as the master and created everything else depending on this one, any change that I will make to this prong will translate to others. So this means if I move this prong down a little bit, let's say we'll want to drag it down to minus 0.30 millimeters. Enter. You see everything else, all the other prongs are updating. That's very practical. Nice. So we have our gems and prongs on a line, but how do we place them on this curve so that they're gonna look like a ring, right? To do this, we have a command called flow. Here, flow along curve. So it immediately asks me to select the objects that I want to flow. I need pretty much everything here at the moment. So I select everything. I press enter. Now we have some options here. Copy, yes, it's to be bent. So base curve. Select near one end. So I'm selecting this end, and on target curve now, I select this and adjust closed curve seam. Select this curve, click enter. So I click here, drag it until it snaps. Make sure your quadrant object snap is on. I click. Looks good. I accept this. Right click. Now everything looks much better, right? Our ring is coming to reality. But there's one more adjustment that I want to make over here. Still, the top of our gems are staying above this line. I actually want them to be below this line. Since we created everything using history, we can just move the parent object. And the parent object of this stone is this stone. And the parent object of this stone is this stone. So if I move this, everything should update. Let's try. Minus 0.3. It's already there. I hit enter. You see how everything updates real quick? Maybe minus 0.1. Maybe some more. Right now, the stones are below this line. Let me do the same for the prongs. That's my main prong. Carry it down. Perfect. I click on my polyline command. make sure that the end object snap is on. I hover over the endpoint, snaps, click. Now I need to enter a distance. So since my stone is 2 millimeter wide, at least I need 1 millimeter for the stone, and I want to have an additional 0.2 millimeter on each side. That's going to be probably filed away after casting, so we need that extra material. So I'm typing 1.2 millimeters, 1.2, click enter. Again, hold down shift and left click. My second point will be actually the depth. We use a shortcut called the R for relative. So that means you will start drawing relative to the last point that you have already drawn. So in this case, this point will be our relative point. You just type R, coordinates, X and Y, I just need 0, 0, and on Z, -2, and enter. Let me continue drawing like this. So I need another point, which is going to be 1.2 plus 1.2, 2.4 millimeters away from this curve on the Y direction. That means after typing R, the X will be 0, comma, the Y will be 2.4, comma, and the Z will be 0. Just click enter. See, here's my second point. Perfect. Now I'll do it for the next point. Again, relative 0, 0, 2. Enter. And from here, I can just click close. Command here to close the curve. Perfect. So we made this curve because we want to make a sweep. We want to create a surface. To do that, let's come over here to surface tools. And here is the sweep one. Click, select the rail. This is the rail. Sweep shapes. This is the sweep shape. Right click to continue. Say OK. Let's move the top of the curve, top segment of the profile curve, a little down so that the girdle of our gems are sitting slightly above the surface. After clicking the curve, I'm just making a square, drag and hold left mouse button to cover all 3 points and release. That selects the 3 curve points. After I do this, I'm just moving it down on the x-axis a little bit, maybe 0.5. That looks really nice. Perfect. Now let's also flow this item to get a better view. But before I do that, I want to switch to the shaded display. Transform, flow along curve. This object. Make sure rigid set to no, because we really want to bend this piece. This is our metal piece, and we can bend the metal. Base, curve, target curve. Let's get a better view. It looks nice. it would be much easier for the stone setter if we round the edge. I want to set this to 0.4. Preview, yes. Maybe that's a little too much. I can use 0.35. Yes, enter. You see how everything is updated? Let's hide our stones for a moment. It looks nice, but it would be better if we have a hole here. Let's do it too. I'm creating a cylinder. On center. Diameter. 1 millimeter. This time I'm going to use both sides on. 2 millimeter would be enough. Carry this over 10 millimeters. Assign this into a new layer. Copy it again like we did with the other items. 2.2 millimeters. Select yes. End the command. Select the last created objects. Mirror them. Flow them. Before flowing them, it will be a nice idea to group these. To do that, just Control G. So our group is ready. I come over here to flow along curve. I'm making sure that the rigid groups set to no. So this is my base curve. This is the target curve. The copy is selected to yes. Perfect. Now I can transform this cylinder. Move it down. And as you can see, everything updated nicely. So right now our ring is size 56. Let me take these 3-dimension objects into this layer. Yes. From 56 to say 54. Right? So what do we do? Normally we would have to do everything from the start. But luckily we have turned the record history on. These two options. So watch what happens when I just change the size of the string. So I'm selecting these finger rail curve. I'm coming over to this plane icon here, holding down Shift, left click. Now I need to basically give in a ratio. So my ratio is 54/56. Hit enter. Some stuff have happened. But there's one more update that I need to do. I also need to update this curve manually so that it matches the length of this one. So here I am applying a transformation, not forgetting this curve here also. Remember, we have a curve here. Perfect. I'm making sure that gumball align to world is selected. This time I just need a 1D scale. On the x-axis, I left click on this little square here that actually belongs to the gumball, and I type in my ratio. It is 66.57 over 68.57. Okay, enter. Did you see the slight move on the gems? So now you can be sure that everything is perfectly aligned. Here I just want to make one more update. I want to move the prongs a little higher. To do that, I'm selecting my main prong. I just want to move it about 0.1. Everything updates beautifully. Now, since I am sure of my design, now I will cut these green cylinders. To do that, I'm coming over here to Solid Tools, Boolean Difference, left click, right click, delete input yes, and click this group, enter, and now we see our drill holes. Perfect. So this is how you create a history enabled ring, which helps you make changes a lot faster. Let's remember the steps again. So wrap it up. We actually did 3 things. We made sure that the record history is enabled. It's over here. Start from an object and use commands that support history. So not every command supports history. Actually, some commands break the history. You need to watch out for that. And when you want to make changes, only change the parent objects, and the rest will automatically update itself, as we've seen in our example. So everyone, thanks for joining, and I wish you happy modeling.